Did you know Super Smash Bros. Was originally going to be a game called Dragon King the Fighting Game for the Super Nintendo and would have used the Super Effects chip to render basic 3D graphics. It didn't feature any established Nintendo characters and was planned to be the first game in an entirely new franchise. The game was later moved to the Nintendo 64 mainly to utilize the console's analog stick and 4-man multiplayer as well as its improved graphical capabilities. While the game was in development for the N64, it was codenamed Ryuo. This came from the Ryuocho neighborhood where one of HAL's R&D centers were. Some photos were taken of the area and used as temporary backgrounds in the game. Nintendo characters replaced the existing fighters because one of the game's developers, Masahiro Sakurai, thought the game wouldn't have a good atmosphere on a home console without the inclusion of Nintendo characters. However, Sakurai didn't think this idea would be approved, so he made a prototype to convince Nintendo where Mario, Donkey Kong, Samus, and Fox would duke it out. The prototype was a success, and Nintendo approved the idea. The development of Super Smash Bros. Was set in motion with a small budget. The game had hardly any promotion when it launched in Japan and was even planned as a Japan-only release. The game was a huge success, prompting Nintendo to release it worldwide. In the Super Smash Bros. Series, several characters have either been cut during development or were considered as fighters but were never added to the games. Starting with Super Smash Bros. On the N64, Bowser, King Dedede, and Mewtwo were all playable during development but were cut before the game's release. This information comes from a list on Nintendo Japan's website where Sakurai left a few comments on the game's development. The list was of a collection of video game characters the development team wanted to see enter the Smash Bros. Series. Bowser, Peach, Wario, King Dedede, Ganon, Mewtwo, Mew, Toad, and even Banjo and Kazooie and Rare's depiction of James Bond scored highly on the list, giving us some insight as to who could have been considered during the game's development and who may have also been considered for Super Smash Bros. Melee. For Super Smash Bros. Melee, the developers wanted a fighter to represent Nintendo's 8-bit era. The Ice Climbers were eventually chosen as 8-bit ambassadors, but several other characters were also seen as potential fighters. The Excitebike Racer from Excitebike, Balloon Fighter from Balloon Fight, Urban Champion from Urban Champion, and Bubbles from Clu Clu Land were all considered as playable characters. Sakurai thought the Ice Climbers would fit best, and the only reason the Excitebike Racer wasn't chosen was because Sakurai didn't know how to make him believably jump around. The creator of Metal Gear, Hideo Kojima, had requested Solid Snake be in the game, but due to time constraints, he couldn't be added to the game's roster. A similar event occurred with Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic's creator, Yuji Naka, stated Sonic was planned to be in Melee, but the plan fell short due to time constraints. It's also been said that King Dedede wasn't added to Melee because Sakurai said as the creator of Kirby, he didn't want to overrepresent his own series. There's also evidence suggesting Giga Bowser was playable at one point in development, though this could have just been for testing purposes. There are some unused, incomplete data files on the Super Smash Bros. Brawl disc revealing several characters were cut during development. These characters include Dixie Kong, Dr. Mario, Mewtwo, Roy, Toon Zelda, and Toon Sheik. Dixie, Dr. Mario, and Mewtwo seem self-explanatory, and it's presumed that Toon Zelda and Toon Sheik would have been various forms of Tetra from the Wind Waker. Roy is thought to be Roy from Fire Emblem, but since the character listing is so vague, some have speculated this could be another character with the name Roy, such as Roy the Koopaling or Metal Gear's Roy Campbell. That said, an unused victory theme for Roy can be found in the game's data, along with a victory theme for Mewtwo. There's a listing for a character named Pra Mai, and there are two theories surrounding this name. The most common and accepted theory is that this is an abbreviation for an Ice Climber-style collaboration of Plusle and Minun, as their Japanese names are Prasule and Minun. The second theory is that this somehow links to the random character selection, as Pra Mai can loosely translate to an abbreviation of the Japanese for every player. There's also an unused jumping animation for the Pokemon trainer, and though some have speculated he may have been playable on his own, it's more likely he was originally planned to jump around the screen and follow the fight in large areas like the Subspace Emissary. There are also unused textures in the game's data suggesting the characters were originally going to show battle damage during fights. Captain Falcon's helmet and Meta Knight's mask would crack, and Link's sword and shield would show scratches and possibly even break. Some of the trophies in the Super Smash Bros. Series contain some largely overlooked secrets. If you look carefully at the Metal Mario trophy in Super Smash Bros. Melee, you might be able to see that the image reflecting off of Mario is of the game's Yoshi's Island stage. The Metroid trophy in Melee also has an image reflecting off its body. The reflection is of the space station from the beginning of Super Metroid. The Super Smash Bros. Brawl Metroid trophy also has a hidden detail. The trophy's texture contains a small white mark that resembles the sprite of Earthbound's Mr. Saturn. It, however, can't be seen in-game as it isn't mapped to any visible area on the trophy model. If you go to the back of the Princess Daisy trophy and move the camera so it glitches through her hair, you'll be able to see a third eye on the back of her head. This eye was removed in later versions of the game. And if you inspect the bottom of Melee's Barrel Cannon trophy, you can see the characters 2L84ME. Players believe this to be a mildly cryptic message meaning, "Too late for me." That's all for today, but don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you also check out DidYouKnowGaming.com where we post gaming trivia every single day. If you like this video, check out our other videos. And if you have ever wanted to make your own YouTube videos, make sure you watch my video game review training video. I've had some great feedback on it, and who knows, maybe you'll learn something new.